I got asked a question about Sean Strickland. And the question was this: is Sean Strickland the best defensive fighter in MMA? Now, I've never given any thought to any defensive fighter. And I don't think that any defensive fighter in all of MMA has ever been recognized and or credited. But that is a thing for boxing. They say it about Floyd Mayweather. They say it about James Toney. In fact, the argument usually comes down to Floyd Mayweather or James Toney for who the best defensive fighter of all time was. I'm looking at going, I give a goddamn. I don't care. I don't believe in self-defense. I just don't. I've never teach my kid, I don't teach any of my wrestlers how to defend themselves if they're in a spot. I teach them self-offense. It just doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well. I look at who the best offensive fighters are. That's where I always come to the name Khabib. You look at the absolute dominance and the forward pressure of Khabib. I have not seen Khabib have to defend himself too many times. I believe the greatest defense is a good offense. And I realize that that's a quote from Vince Lombardi. But my father stole it from Vince, and my father told me my whole life, you want a good defense? Have a better offense. Go after the guy. Don't ever have to worry about being on defense. I mean, I only share that with you because in the world of MMA, if you think that you're going to make a living by being defensive the way you can in boxing, which allows you to back up, it allows you to stall, has no incentive for pressure, has no incentive for what we call finishing in MMA. You might be able to get away with it for a couple of wins. I just don't know how far you're going to go in your career. And when I was asked this question as it pertained to Sean Strickland, I immediately got defensive, and I thought it was an insult. There is another side of it when you're talking about Strickland, because Strickland, much like Khabib, is doing offense nonstop, but he's not getting hit a lot in the process. But to say that the guy is the best defensive fighter because nothing's hitting him, I mean, I got to go back to my father's theory. Is he a good defensive fighter, or is he a smart fighter who doesn't have to use defense because he's keeping the opponent on the ropes the whole time? It's a tough question. I don't know the answer. I'm pondering it over here now. Because while I have watched Sean fight, I can't remember a Sean black eye. I can't remember a bloody nose. I can't remember the time seeing Sean at a press conference where he looked like he had been in a fight. I can't. So is he a good defensive fighter? Yeah, he's pretty good. But are we skewing what good defense is, which is rolling, which is blocking, which is dipping, which is pulling? Are we mistaking that for a guy who's beat the system because he's so offensive, he doesn't need a lot of defense? I mean, it's an interesting question. It's hard to come to. To say that Khabib wasn't a great defensive fighter is tough, considering he was never on the defense. It's tough. He had a couple of spots with Conor where on his feet he needed to defend. He had a couple of spots with Poirier. He had more spots with Al Iaquinta than he did with either Conor or Poirier put together. And he looked pretty damn good at it. I mean, I acknowledge that he's pretty good at defenses, but if you look at the blows that he sustained or the aggression that he had to deal with through the course of his career, and you juxtapose that against the offense that he put out, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, look, Khabib took very few punches. In my opinion, that makes him the best defensive fighter. Khabib took fewer punches than anybody else I've ever seen do it. In my opinion, that makes him the best defensive fighter. But that's not actually what the rule says, right? I mean, the textbook's going to say who blocked, who rolled with, who slipped, who pulled, who checked. I don't know that Khabib would fit in that category, but I don't know that I could give it to Sean either. I think Sean does what my dad said that he stole from Vince don't interrupt me, Lombardi, which is he believes in the concept that the best defense is a better offense. I think that's what Strickland's doing well.